All right, folks, we have quorum. It's after 7 o'clock, so I'll turn it over to you, Chair Stringfellow.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order, please, at 7:03. And can you please do a roll call, Cynthia?
Sure. Board of Zoning Adjustment meeting is called to order on January 14th, 2021 at 7:03 p.m. Mark Stringfellow?
Aye, here.
Chair Stringfellow. Member Davenport? On yet? I think we were still waiting on Debbie. We do have our alternate, so we do have 4 members. Debbie had said she was going to attend. Have you talked to her, Mark?
I have not, but let's just keep moving if we have quorum and she can join as time permits.
Sounds good. Member Mahauld?
Here.
Member Giblin?
I'm here.
Alternate?
I'm here.
Marvelous. And as I said, our trustee liaison is absent and they're popped off. So we do have quorum.
Okay, so
Everybody.
I think the first order of business tonight is the approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any questions about the minutes of the July 9th BZA meeting?
No, they look pretty complete. I didn't see any issues. So
Okay.
this is Tom Mahold. I'll move to approve the July 9th minutes, July 9th, 2020 minutes.
Thanks, Tom. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Billy.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll do a roll call vote. Just because I can't physically see you, so I can't see your raised hands. So we'll just go down the list, starting with Chair Stringfellow.
Yes.
I didn't hear you, Mark.
He said yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. Member Giblin?
Yes. Yes.
Member Mahauld?
Yes.
And alternate Fletcher?
Do I need to abstain since I wasn't at the meeting?
Actually, I think Deb has joined us. Are you on, Deb?
Good.
Oh, good.
Let's see. Debbie, are you with us?
It doesn't appear that she has audio.
Okay.
Okay, she's probably logging into that right now. We can give it a second. Just so we can get this vote passed.
Well, you do have a majority of the 4 who voted, and I do believe that Karen could abstain if that's what she chooses to do, and you'd still be okay.
Is that
Well,
the
we
correct
have
thing to do,
3
though, Karen?
members.
We only have 3 members, Karen.
We only have 3
that's right.
members.
That's why you need Debbie. Yeah, Debbie.
Yes, correct. And then
I
we would
wonder
have
if she
4.
could.
Can she text you or something, Mark? If she's unable, sometimes when you log into this program, if you don't choose not able to do the audio at first, it might mess it up. I've seen that with some of the virtual programs or,
Can she chat?
So-
Can you chat?
Okay, we
Good point.
Debbie, or
Debbie.
I know I had to update the WebEx program tonight to get on.
Ah,
Karen? Is
Karen
it
Garrity or Fletcher?
Well, this is Karen Fletcher, sorry.
Oh,
So,
hi, Karen.
Garrity. Hi. When I was on the library board, whoever was not at the meeting could actually not vote to approve the minutes. Is that not how you guys do it?
You can, that's what I said. You can definitely abstain. Or I
Yes,
think
that,
for that vote, yeah, that's not a problem at all.
Okay, but if you need my
yeah,
vote,
no,
could I
no,
vote?
if
It's
you
just-
were not
Okay, that's what I
present,
thought.
you can't vote. Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Okay, so let's
Um,
move on.
Looks like
And
Debbie might be getting her phone hooked up.
she
Deb, are
might
you
be.
with us?
Debbie heard me. You could also send me an email, or I can shoot you an email and just confirm your presence here regarding the minutes. So I'm going to send you
It
an
looks like she
email
has
right
audio.
now.
Cynthia, I think she has audio. Debbie, are you there?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So you're fine. We were approving the July 9th, 2020 minutes, and you are the fourth person we need. So do you approve the July 9th, 2020 minutes?
Absolutely.
Yay! We got 4 members. Motion passes.
That's great.
Okay, so the next item up is informational items from town staff. And I presume that's why we have the entire town staff tonight.
Mark, you're cutting out on us. Your cell phone's cutting out.
Huh, I have-
I can hear him pretty clearly,
I
actually.
can hear him too.
Oh,
So
okay.
so this is Karen Garrity. I'll just go ahead and do a real quick update. Mainly the report is giving you an update on the COVID situation. The numbers are looking better right now, although there's been a little uptick because of the holidays. We're seeing a little up and down movement, but generally speaking, the numbers are trending down. We still only have 20 confirmed cases in Nederland. We're still having the best as far as infection rate. Ours is the best municipality in the county, so we're doing really well. We are still seeing increase in long-term facility cases, even though the vaccinations have begun. And we are still seeing some deaths at the long-term facility, unfortunately, but those are dropping. So right now with the vaccinations, we're in phases 1A and just started 1B as well. As far as 1B goes, it's the first responders in the 1B category that are being addressed right now. And our Netherlands Police Department is one of the first responder agencies that has worked directly with the health department and is getting their vaccinations. They're estimating, Boulder County Public Health, that phase 2 will begin in March. And then as far as widespread vaccinations go, we're looking at likely May. There is a supply chain issue with the vaccinations. I'm sure if you guys are following it in the newspaper, you know that we have a much bigger need just to address 1A and 1B than the actual doses that we're getting. That being said, we have lots of partners between the 5 hospitals, many pharmacies in the county. We've already, I say we, but they've already been able to administer over 10,000 first doses and over 2,000 second doses. One of the numbers we have that is keeping us in the red dial is our cumulative rate. We're still over 350, but that's getting really close. Once we get below 350, then actually all of our data is in the orange level, and that would be good news.
What's that mean? What's that?
So what that means is that, and there are links on the report if you want to go to those links and you can get much more detail. But basically the state, the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment came up with a dial. And so there's different colors on the dial. So purple would be like a complete shutdown, sort of the way we were back in March. Red is you're allowed to operate super restricted though. No gatherings of more than 10 people. No more than one household, that sort of thing. In orange, we're seeing some of the businesses are allowed to be open, and they can operate though under a restricted method, so that They're limited in how many people can be in their space. They have to, of course, social distance. Everyone has to wear masks. Retail's open, I think, at 50% capacity. I believe the restaurants are around 25%. Gyms are allowed to be opened. Everything's still very much restricted. Now, one thing I was going to share with you, well, there's a couple other things. So right now we've had 9 days of stabilized or decreasing hospitalizations. So that's really good news. What's happening is the state is overseeing a 5-star program for businesses. It's a certification program, which counties can opt into if they want to. And Boulder County is in the process of putting a plan together and putting an application together with the state to hopefully be able to take part in this 5-star program. And just really briefly, what it would mean is that if we do get the variance from the state, then businesses that operate in Nederland could apply for this certification, which would actually, if they met all this criteria, and there's quite an intense criteria behind it, if they do meet it, they could actually operate at a less restrictive place. So right now we're in orange. If we did, like I said, if the Boulder County Commissioners agreed and the 5 hospitals and the Sheriff's Office agree that we could move to this 5-star program, there is potential for some businesses to actually be able to operate in yellow, which actually allows you to have even more people in your space at a time and have more people sitting in a restaurant. But that is still in the works. And because we still have one data point, the cumulative rate over 2 weeks in red zone, even if we were allowed to get the variance, businesses still could not drop another level until all of our numbers are in orange. But like I said, we're getting really super close. So the last thing I wanted to say is just if you haven't signed up for
Karen,
yeah.
what's the 2-week cumulative? That's what I didn't understand. What's the cumulative?
So there is a graph. There's a graph on the report that I sent, which would probably be very helpful for you to look at because it's easier to track, especially if you're visual. But basically, that's looking at 2 weeks. That's looking at the exposure. The cumulative rate for positive test results.
So it just means 354 people have gotten sick in the last 2 weeks?
Over 2 weeks, the cumulative rate.
Okay. Okay.
But the point is that we are actually trending really good and we're really close. We only have to get to 350 to be actually all at the orange level. We're doing really well as a county. And then as a town, Netherlands doing really well. So like I said, our numbers are the best in the county. So obviously our businesses are doing a great job of following the protocol, our residents as well. And so, we're just hoping that we can maintain that. They are estimating that we may continue to see surges through the winter, and that we're not going to really see the big drops that we're hoping for until we see a more widespread vaccination distribution.
Karen, what's the prognosis on getting more vaccines out right now?
Well, there is some good news. There's a couple other companies who are having tests done right now to get approval to be able to send, to be able to have their vaccinations included in the mix, their vaccines, I mean. And if this happens, Boulder County Public Health has sort of, staged other providers. They're ready to go if we do get an influx of more vaccines, but it's really going to take a couple of these other players, these other pharmaceutical companies, to get their vaccines approved, because the first two that were approved, Pfizer and Moderna, I always mispronounce that. but those two, they are limited in how much they can produce at a time. And right now, our entire state is only getting 60,000 a week. That's all we're getting. So it's very hard to spread that out throughout the entire state, which is why this has been going on for 3 weeks, and Boulder County's been able to, administer 10,000, which is awesome. But we're doing the best we can with a very limited supply. And so my understanding is that we're going to have more product out there. And the hope is that these other two that are like right on the cusp of being approved, if they can get approved, then we could see a rapid increase.
Okay.
Karen, as far as the, do they use your physical home where you're living to determine when and where you can get the vaccine? Because the reason I was asking is I heard somebody who was out at their, second home out in Summit County, and they have a lot more over there. And he said that he couldn't get it because that was his second address.
Right. So right. I know Gilpin County's not giving them to people who have second homes in Gilpin County. It has to be your primary residence.
Well, so if you don't have a residence, like if you're homeless, how do they do that?
That's treated completely different, and for people who are in those vulnerable populations, Boulder Public Health is working directly with them and directly with the organizations that provide services to them.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a whole little team working in Boulder County, making sure that the homeless are gonna be able to get vaccinated. Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Sure. There's also a team that works on helping them get COVID tested as well.
Oh,
there's a real awareness of that, and they're addressing it.
Have we been funded for testing for the rest of the quarter, or how long does that go?
Yes, we will have testing through at least the rest of the quarter, but I think they might have just gotten a little more that will push us into April and May.
That's great.
And that's still happening on Thursdays, Karen?
Yes. Yep. Thursdays, 4 to 6 at the community center.
Yeah. What's the cost involved on that?
It's free.
Okay.
I highly recommend it because and if you can't go there on Thursday, Stasio down in Boulder is amazing. It's amazing. And you never even have to get out of your car, and there's not a long line, and they're making it super, super easy.
And it's painless.
Painless, absolutely.
Initially.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, well, that's great news. Do we want to move on now to the transportation piece?
Sure.
Can I ask one quick question? I'm sorry, Mark,
Sure.
Billy, I'm talking a lot. Hey, Karen, or anyone from town or anyone,
Sure.
do you know why the
Sure.
ski area stopped selling season passes? That seemed, from what I was, it was totally COVID related.
Right. You would have to ask them directly, but what I'm reading in the paper is that they just reached their limit. Like everybody was given so many because of COVID. There are restrictions on how many people can be at Eldora at a time, and even how many people can park there. I mean, Eldora came up with their own plan. Each ski resort basically came up with their own plan. And in some cases, it would be the mothership that owns all of those ski resorts came up with the plan, had to get it approved by the state. So whatever the plan was that they put forth to the state and what was approved is what they have to abide by. So again, I'm not an expert on it, but I read about all this stuff 24/7. I'm following it like a nut. And I've been following what's going on at Eldora. And my understanding is they have to abide by the plan that they put in place and what was approved by the state.
They're doing a good job up there, Billy. You have to have a parking registration scan on your phone to get in, and they're doing a really good job of keeping everybody separated and following what the mothership put together for Eldora. So
Yeah, the parking thing has totally made sense, but when I understand and just, the ski passes just got on Sunday, they just middle of the day stopped selling them kind of totally unannounced. And two things I was wondering is it because they have such little acreage and they can't spread people out, or are they heading towards shutting down is really what I was kind of wondering too.
I don't think they're heading towards shutting down, but Billy, really, you really probably need to reach out to them
Okay.
directly. I don't want to give you any misinformation.
Okay, I didn't know if they told you that. Okay, thanks.
No, all right.
Okay, are we ready for the transportation piece?
Yep.
Hey, Chris.
Mark. So thanks for having me. It's my first time attending a BZA meeting, and went up on my 10-year anniversary. And so thanks for having me tonight.
I think you'll like our meetings.
We'll see you in 10 years.
Congratulations, Chris.
Yeah.
And Mark says you'll like the BZA. We have short meetings. That might have been a hint, but anyway.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
No, that's what you're doing is great.
Okay,
That's gonna make a
so
huge difference.
some of you haven't heard this presentation. Most of you have. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of folks here tonight. Trying to give an opportunity to give everybody a chance to see it and know what's going on, whether it's businesses, advisory boards, elected officials, and so forth. So I'll give you a brief history, an overview, how it relates to Netherlands' various planning documents. Then I'll share my screen with the latest concepts, and then I'll just open it up to questions. So started in August, staff became aware of this grant opportunity, and grant funds were August 2018, I'm sorry. So it's been in the works for a while. The grant funds are managed by Dr. Cog, Denver Regional Council of Governments. The program is called TIP, Transportation Alternative Program. And it targets multimodal projects like alternative transportation, regional connectivity, economic vitality, reducing single occupancy cars, and so forth. So we received permission to submit this grant in January of 2019. So we're approaching 2 years now. In September of 2019, we were awarded the grant, and it was for $1.5 million. And the project also is in cooperation with the DDA. So in addition to the components of the project, the DDA is also agreeing to fund a portion. And so the project grant dollars are going to cover sidewalk installation, high-speed charging stations, bike rack, and that's about it, I guess. Sidewalks and multimodal actions. And then the DDA is going to fund reconstruction of the asphalt of North Jefferson Street and the Visitor Center. Let's see. An OPR was created in collaboration with various advisory boards. So, throughout this project, I've been meeting with ProSab and SAB and the DDA, and the BOT played a role in the OPR, and then the Planning Commission as well. So I've presented this quite a few times to some of the other boards, but like I said a few moments ago, it's first time being here at the BZA. So yeah, I've presented quite a few times to these boards. And then the plan, how it relates to the various town documents. I'm not going to go into detail about that, but it does align well with the Netherlands Comprehensive Plan and the DDA's master plan, the Parks and Open Space Recreation Plan, We have a 2017 roads assessment that was performed, and the project scored well with the sustainability scorecard that SAB has, and that's also within the OPR. Unfortunately, I didn't attach the OPR in my in with your packet materials, but the OPR is a owner's project requirements, and now it's developed to make sure that we included the various values of each board and the goals and priorities of the town and the town's residents and of each of these boards. So that's what the OPR is, and there's a list of stuff in there, such as like sustainability measures and priorities of the various boards. Parks might be like trail signs or a drainage plan. The DDA might be more related to wayfinding and so forth. Also provides better ADA accessibility. That's kind of a given. That's not necessarily in any one plan, but is obviously a town goal, and this project does that. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen. Go.
Got it.
You see it?
Yep.
Don't.
It's up.
Nothing yet.
I
You
can
see
see
it?
it.
It's here.
I can see
I
it.
see it.
Okay, let me make it bigger. Now do you see it? Everyone see it now? Okay. All right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay. I'm going to start here kind of on the north end over by the Kathmandu. All right, so over here on the right, I got this little picture of a sidewalk, an example of what a frontage zone is. This was one of the ideas of the ProSab, one of their priorities that they wanted to incorporate in the project. And obviously, Netherlands not building a giant sidewalk like that with trees and tables and stuff. But it is an example of what's called a transition zone. So you got the place where people walk, and also a place off to the side called the frontage zone. And I'll just zoom in on it a little bit so you can see it. Okay, now you can kind of see it. And the one where construction is 24 inches, it's not going to be like you could set a table there, but you could do a sandwich board, such as Thursday's grams, $5, for example, if we're talking about this area over here. And the frontage zone was going to be a brick type of design. We're looking at alternative materials that are more carbon neutral. We've passed the town sustainability coordinator that contracts with the town to research those types of materials. Sidewalk will be an 8-foot. That's a standard spec for a multimodal sidewalk. And the curb here will have to be extended a bit to accommodate the length of the cars here, so that it matches the parking. And then the road is going to be turned to a one-way road. And the idea is to reduce the congestion in the area. Was the thought, because what you see here now is two-way traffic that gets very congested. It's not a lot of room. Deliveries will come in here, and they really conflict with cars trying to go north on this road. And then there's an area here where a delivery truck can park off to the side. And actually, I have an image here. Let me pull this image up while I'm talking about it. We did what's called auto turn, where you can computer simulate a large vehicle coming through here. And we spent a bit of time and communicated with area businesses about their needs for deliveries, and particularly this intersection at North Jefferson and West First Street, where a large truck would have to navigate and then pull out onto West First and continue on Jackson Street. So it has a little bit more freedom where the truck can pull over here, could park, or it can maneuver here in a one-way fashion and then be able to back into Ned's or wherever it needs to go. Come back in. Now I'll show you a couple versions. Not most of them aren't really going to change much, other than how the parking is configured. In this particular version, all the parking is perpendicular. So I'm going to move on down. Then here you see like these hash marks on the curb extensions. We're proposing to do like an alternative brick material in these to provide definition, similar to the curb extensions that are over here on the highway, except those are just a colored stamped concrete. But we are trying to move towards more of a, like I said, a carbon neutral and a sustainable product. And so we're researching. Here, I guess before I leave North Jefferson Street, the project will also bury some overhead power lines. So over here by the post office, there's a, or I'm sorry, the business connection. There's a telephone pole, and we're gonna remove bury the power lines from this pole down Jefferson Street.
Great.
Over here from the highway, the full length of West First Street all the way to Jackson Street. And those poles will be removed, and we'll bury those lines. So then, let's see, move this over. This bold black line here represents the property line. In this area in front of Town Hall, in Ned's, and the bakery, that the parking, or sorry, sidewalk actually goes on to private property. And town is in negotiations with the property owner of Ned's. Obviously, this is town property, so we're not too concerned here, but with Ned's to figure out options for keeping it on their property if that's what they desire. I also have a version here where the sidewalk is entirely off their property. But we think that we're going to come to terms. I think they have a desire to keep the sidewalk where it is, and it does help provide a little bit more parking. So in this area, you see that the parking does change. It's typically diagonal parking here, but what we have here is a parallel parking. And I have an image here to share.
Pretty neat what they could do with the simulation to show big trucks going through.
You see, right here.
When you start to bury power lines, you can see where $1.5 million.
The problem with having cars, butt up against the curb and stuff is that it encroaches into the sidewalk, and obviously you see these signs, it hits the signs and stuff. So one of the advantages for parallel parking is it does provide better separation for vehicles and pedestrians. So that's one reason why we're doing this. But the other reason is that if you can picture the flow of traffic through here, it stays a nice linear flow without these sort of weird jogs back and forth, and tightening up this area for traffic. So it maintains this nice linear straight flow. Why this was chosen like that.
Chris, can you unshare and reshare your screen again? It seems like maybe the video is not catching it. So can you stop share and reshare?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chris, it looks like the grants are going to go through 2023. Could we apply for another one next year?
The grant cycle for this particular funding is every 4 years.
Okay.
CDOT's process is fairly tedious. They have a lot of grant opportunities, and I
Yeah.
did receive a grant recently for another project. But like I said, they're just a tedious process, and
Yeah.
you kind of have to just go through it and deal with it. So no, they just release portions of the fund over time, and it actually takes that amount of time to do it. Just to get
It
through
did, yeah. Did they want you to change very much?
Well, they haven't actually seen this yet, so I'm
Okay.
going to approach 30% design. But just to that point, I have been working on this for a couple years, and I haven't even submitted this design yet. But it's really important to get through the public process and make sure everyone's on the same page and we like what we're presenting to CDOT. Ultimately, CDOT's going to take this and say, well, no, you can't do that. Or this is great, Chris, keep going. So we'll get more input once I get through this process and submit this project to CDOT.
And you want to start building it this summer?
I'll at least yes, I want to start building it this summer, hoping to do the electrical work, the infrastructure and the underground in the spring. And yeah, if all goes well, start the sidewalk construction at the beginning of summer.
Oh, that's ambitious.
It is, yeah. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, are you going to be doing the paving on this with your new paving machine?
No. Well, I don't know yet. I definitely won't do the parking lot. I've considered Jefferson Street. It's not a real technical job. However, I'd rather have a professional do it, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
With heavy traffic and stuff that's on this, and as important as the project is, we are amateurs. I can pave a road, we do pretty good, and some low traffic road that's out there, no problem. But when it comes to the middle of downtown, I'm reluctant to take that on. All right, so to continue here, so this sort of darkened area is a raised crosswalk, so this will serve as sort of traffic calming. This green area is a rain garden, and so we have quite a bit of storm drainage that comes down First Street and a little bit from Jefferson Street. And the idea is to capture it into this rain garden, develop some kind of plants or whatever that's open to interpretation. And then the overflow will continue down this gutter, and then we'll have a snow storage water quality basin.
Great.
Then over here, we have an EV charger in the parking lot here, so we're proposing to move that over to here. Then we've also purchased a high-speed electric charger to go along with it. So these 4 spaces here will be dedicated for electric chargers. Over here, these boxes, this is also town-owned land, and you do need to dedicate space. When you bury power lines, there are what they call switch cabinets and transformers and such that need to live on the surface, and you need to dedicate a place for them. And so this is the spot that we're going to dedicate for the infrastructure required for burying power lines. And then obviously there's a transformer for the electric chargers as well. So that's what these boxes are over here, and they're kind of boxes. The project here. Now, I want to point out that this really is a walking project and not a parking project. So that's why the DDA has got involved with the paving of the Visitor Center parking lot in Jefferson Street, because I can't use these TIP funds for paving local roads.
Okay.
The West First Street, this is just here to show that there's opportunity to develop parking on First Street. Then into the DDA there. What's the word? I don't want to say ambitious, but they are interested in helping and working with the town to develop these spaces here. And it is an opportunity to add more parking because we are removing parking here. So at the end of the day, this project reduces parking. However, if parking is developed on West First Street, then ultimately there'll be a net gain.
Okay.
And this is one-way street here on West First Street going west, as the name implies. Then Jackson Street remains two-way, obviously to access Wolf Tongue Square, but egress from this area would be Jackson Street. So the sidewalk continues all the way to the west. Again, they have these hash marks for curb extensions and alternative materials. This area here that's sort of designated is for wayfinding. In the DDA's master plan, they have something called the gateway sign. There's still a question as to whether it's going to live there or not, but ultimately there'll be some kind of wayfinding sign like the trails map for people getting off the bus or what have you. There'll be a bike rack located here. This sort of green area is going to be designated for a planter. It could be trees. It's sort of open to discussion right now, but at this point, it's essentially a placeholder. And then there's also discussion for potentially artwork that the DDA is pursuing.
Great.
Then the project is also in cooperation with RTD, and so it enters RTD's property and parking lot, and it crosses here into this island. Likely, this island would have to be expanded, but we're in discussion with RTD now. And then it'll cross the bus lane, and then a short sidewalk will be installed, and then there'll be one positive connection, ADA accessible from RTD downtown Nederland. And then in this version here, there's also kind of an area here that could be dedicated for, again, wayfinding or a piece of art or something.
Great.
Okay, so that is essentially the project. So then I'm going to go down one more. And it shows angle parking just on West First Street in the visitor center parking. You fit less spaces in there. It is actually desirable just because it does show it better defines that it's a one-way road for people who enter the parking lot. But it's less confusing. So the only difference with this drawing is that it is got angled parking on West First Street and on the visitor center parking. And then the next version is angled parking everywhere. And you see North Jefferson Street has angled parking here. Again, it does reduce parking, but it does provide for an obviously a one-way street and maybe easier to enter these parking spaces. And then this version here is no parking. The sidewalk is returned entirely into the town's right of way, with the exception of where it's on town hall's property. And then their spot is blocked out for deliveries and staff parking or emergency vehicles or whatever.
How many how many parking spaces are removed here? Where the in front of town hall and Ned's.
12 spaces.
Okay,
Sorry, 11 spaces.
okay.
And then in these little triangles here are the number of spaces. So you can go through the drawing and you can see the differences between how many spaces there are and how many are gained or lost. Then again, angled parking on West First, on Jefferson, and in the visitor center parking lot. And you see North Jefferson combined, there's 14 spaces. But if I go up to the next version here, it's straight, there's 17 spaces. Significant.
Great.
Then, there's 15 spaces on West First Street here. But if I go up, it's 18 spaces. And now I have just talked with this property owner here. They're are likely to develop their driveway here. So a couple of these spaces would actually not be here because they're going to want to have a driveway and get their car off the road. So it likely wouldn't be 18 spaces here. Pink spot, well, it's clearly labeled, but it's for access into CenturyLink's property or Remax. I forget which is, but the realtor's property.
Yeah.
So let me zoom out. I think that concludes my presentation. I'll take any questions that you guys have on the project.
So you haven't submitted this yet, but you are approved for the 1.5 mil?
Yes.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah, I'm fully approved right now for design and engineering, and so I'm in that phase of it. And
part of the grant application included conceptual plans that we had to submit. So, they have a general gist of it. They just don't have the details.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so part of the application had sort of like a generic, me kind of putting red lines on, like Google Earth, and submitted that.
So you've got some feedback from them without actually getting it approved.
Yeah. I mean, they approved the application to award us $1.5 million. So the concept they approved, sort of this idea of redeveloping this regional connection and connection to multimodal services, or rather,
And really, part of the process and the understanding of the funders is that we will vet this publicly and make sure we have the community support.
Does it require a vote or anything?
No.
It requires
the board of trustees had to approve all of this. Every step we've taken, we've had to put forth to the board of trustees and to get approval as we continue to move forward. And we'll bring this to them also for a final buy-in.
And I presume the rest of the people, like the downtown businesses, have been plugged in, right?
Yes, he's already presented it to the DDA.
Okay, great.
A couple times, I think now, right, Chris?
Yeah, I've presented this multiple times, several times to ProSab and SAB during the design stage, and then prior in the LPR stage, at least 4 or 5 times. The DDA at the design stage, at least twice now, and then prior to design approval, like the application submittal, 1 or 2 times there as well. The Planning Commission, I've presented to them a couple of times to get feedback for them, particularly on how I'm changing the one-way roads and parking, and they had their desires, that to make sure that I incorporated it into the project. So yeah, I've talked to everybody except for you guys, so that's why I'm here tonight.
Save the best for last.
Yeah, save the best for last, right? And to Karen's point, CDOT does require public vetting, so I have to do this.
Oh shucks! I thought you just liked this.
How comfortable are you that the 1.5 will cover everything you want to do. Do you have enough cushion that you don't run out?
The engineers feel pretty good about it. I've
Mhm.
asked them that several times because obviously it's important. I don't want to like do this pie in the sky project and for nothing. So I think they're pretty confident that $1.5 million is enough money to do this. The paving, on the other hand, is tight. That's why I was hesitant when Mark's like, "You gonna do this yourself?" No, I mean the visitor center parking lot, I think has to be done professionally, and it has to be milled and overlaid. Jefferson Street, there's potential there. Like I said, I'm hesitant. I'm getting paving bids right now, and so I'm hopeful that I have enough money to do it. The rest of it, though, I'm pretty confident that I have enough money.
Are you going to bury your own utilities, or do you need to bring in Excel and crew to do that?
No, that Excel will have to do that.
Okay.
Hey, Chris,
All right.
do you have an estimate of how long the construction's going to last?
Well, likely all summer. If I get started this summer, likely all summer. In phases, on and off. I've talked to businesses such as Ned's, and we don't want to impact businesses usually, so we'd like to do it in phases, and but also be as economical about it as possible. So yeah, it's going to take some time, Karen. I think Excel can bury all their lines in under a week, and there's a bit of coordination there because obviously there's CenturyLink, and so coordinating those two entities is challenging, and then setting transformers and getting easements and such for those transformers. So it's a lot of legwork behind the scenes, but the actual construction of setting burying the power lines, it's probably like a week, and some of it they'll bore, so it won't be as impactful. Some of it will be an open cut because it just makes more sense to share a trench with CenturyLink and Excel at the same time. So,
is there any ongoing maintenance that's going to be required? Is it all on your tab, or are businesses expected to? The GDA expected to pick anything up?
No, it's all town property.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I'm having the sidewalks larger. Town code requires businesses to shovel their own sidewalks. I'll say that right now. I mean, that's a requirement within town code. However, we currently do the sidewalk in front of the Kathmandu Plaza. Of course, we do in front of Town Hall. It's our own sidewalk. Likely, we'll do the sidewalk up First Street just because there's really not any businesses there anyway. Into RTD. So I don't expect much change in our habits for plowing sidewalks until real development happens and there are a lot of businesses able to manage their own sidewalks. So yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for doing this. This is a tremendous effort of love. It's really looking good. It'd be a tremendous improvement.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I know how many meetings you've gone to. I've gone to a lot of them with ProSab and SAB and the BOT and everything else. So this has been a long time coming, and it sounds like you've got a good handle on it. So thanks again for all your hard work, and congratulations on getting the grant. Is there anything you need from the BZA that we can help with?
Not particularly. It's really information for you. I'd take input if you had input that was relative to what you guys do in your capacity. But no, not really. Just your support and getting the word out and letting people know when people talk about it. Now you know about it. You can talk about it and what you learned here tonight. Other than that, no, I don't need anything else.
Great. Stick around for another 10.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll see. I've made it this far, and Yeah, we'll see.
Chris, will you keep the BZA informed in the future as to how it's progressing?
Sure. Yeah.
You can just send me an email and I can spread it around, but it'd be nice to see the progress and let everybody know. And again, if there's anything we can do, let us know.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you
Awesome
very
work,
much.
Chris. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Chris. Great job.
Okay, I've lost the schedule here.
Oh,
For you, Chair, is election of officers, appointment of officers.
All right, well, it's that time of year again. This is where we need to vote for the chair position and the vice chair position. So is there any discussion or do we have any motions at this point?
are you willing to do it for another year?
Excuse me?
Are you willing to chair for another year?
Yeah, I'd be honored.
Okay, then do we need a motion on that?
You'll need a motion in a second.
Okay. Then I'll motion that Mark Stringfellow continue for another year as board chair.
And do
I'll
we have a
second.
second? And
I'll second.
would you like to do a roll call, Cynthia?
Probably have to, yeah.
Yeah. One moment here, just to get down. And all right, we will go down the list here. So let's start with Debbie Davenport.
Yes.
Okay. And member
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
And member Stringfellow?
Do I
Right,
need
Chair
to-
Stringfellow? I think you probably do on this one.
Okay.
Yes, okay. I know you normally abstain, but we don't have as many people here tonight. So vote for yourself, Mark.
All right.
And I think we don't need the alternate to vote.
But can we
I
ask
think,
her anyway?
well, yeah, alternate member.
Yes.
This is her opportunity to say no. All right, so I will look to our bylaws and just make sure and see regarding the alternate member and voting. I can't remember off the top of my head. So if you're able to, I'll definitely include you, Karen. And if not, then I'll just know you. We will all know that you have the support, Mark. All right, so that's
I do know.
Go ahead, Karen.
I was just going to talk to you a little bit about your vice chairperson. So I believe the way your bylaws are written, Mark Mull could just stay in the position until the next meeting that he's at, and then you could vote him in. But I don't know if, Mark, you've talked to him to see if he's still interested in serving, or if somebody else is interested in being the vice chairperson.
I have not talked to him about it. We've been trying to get together, go skiing for the last month or so, and it just hasn't happened.
Because what you could do is you could just, like I said, I think the bylaws say that the people can just stay in their positions until a new person is voted in or whatever. And
Right,
maybe you could talk to Mark, start with Mark, and then maybe call each one of the members and see if anybody's interested.
Okay, why don't we table that on the vice chair position until next meeting? And I'll talk to Mark in the meantime.
He's up this year, right?
Oh, good point.
Correct. His term expires in June.
Good point.
Okay, so we don't have to do anything quite yet in that position, but I guess we should find out if he wants to continue.
Even if he continues, it'll only be for, a month or so. Is there anybody on the call tonight who'd be interested in being vice chair?
I'd do it if he doesn't want to.
Okay.
Oh, thanks, Tom.
I will nominate Tom Ewald to be vice chair if Mark Mall doesn't want to do it, and since his term's up in June. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Would you like to do a roll call on that, Cynthia?
Garrity, were you going to say something?
Yeah, well, Mark, I guess my suggestion is that if Tom's willing to do it and he's here today, you could just nominate him to be the vice chair
Okay.
and just make it effective.
I will amend my motion to make Tom the vice chair.
Are you good with that, Member Mahal?
I'm good with that.
This is Billy. I guess I just would be kind of curious what Mark was thinking. The other Mark.
Me too.
Mark
Yeah.
Before I don't feel like there's massive urgency on this, and it seems like at a minimum we should see what he wants.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Well, okay.
Okay.
I mean, if I were interested in being the vice, I guess I would have contacted the chair and I would have either shown up or explained why I wasn't here. But that's, it's your call.
He's
So,
busy skiing right now.
A
What?
clarification, as a clarification, these long. Mark Mull has been on the board for, geez, how long, Stringfellow? 10 years? Yeah, I mean, you guys have probably been for about a decade, maybe. I know I'm heading into my 8th year with the town, and you guys were on the board, Debbie, Mark, and Mark Mull. So Mark Stringfellow, Debbie Davenport, and Mark Mull have all done, geez, at least 8 years, yes?
Yes.
So these are our longtime members. They've really held on through, and it's been a pretty small board. So it's been great to have members Giblin and Mahold to add to our group. Our next meeting would be on April 8th. So that would be the next meeting that we would be having. That's the second quarter meeting. Oftentimes, in the quarterly meetings, we may or may not have the meeting unless we have something on the agenda. This is something on the agenda, so it's good that most everyone is here now, so we can kind of keep that in our brain that April 8th would be a meeting that we would want to hold, especially because that would be an opportunity for Mark Mull to weigh in and let us know, are you going to be running again, or should we start to, because we're going to have to post that position. So it's not a guarantee that someone just gets that position. These positions have to be posted publicly. That's legal. We didn't used to do that. But we do have to open the position publicly so anyone could apply. And it doesn't just go before the BZA anymore. That was the old method that was changed. The Board of Trustees solely reviews these decisions and they will decide who's on the board. So we would open that position and then anyone who's interested would apply. And if Mark Mull is interested, then he could apply. So just keeping that in mind with respect to if we're holding out for him to have the vice position, he may put it on to the board by the Board of Trustees.
So really, that's what Cynthia's saying is everybody planned to be at the April meeting. We'll definitely have the election on there. Mark is going to talk to Mark Mull and prepare him and make sure he can be there or at least weighs in. And you'll have your election then.
Then we'll have another election.
That sounds good.
And
But we'll have
Cynthia,
another election in June as well.
yeah,
When Mark's off the board, if he decides to, stay on for one more quarter. So
Could you
everybody
repeat
that's
that,
on the call,
Mark? Could you say that
uh,
term runs through June? Is that what you said?
yeah.
Yeah.
So if
Uh-huh.
we have an election in April, and he wants to be on, then we'll have to have another election in June.
fair enough.
So why don't we do this? Everybody that's on the call, please commit to the April meeting and also to the June meeting, because that might be the only item on the agenda.
We don't meet in June, Mark. We
I,
July. So that would be the third quarter meeting. His term would end in June, because that's just the way the terms run on all the boards. But we wouldn't meet in June. We would meet in July, and that next meeting would be July 8th.
Okay.
So yeah, we would just have to post that position. So that would be an administrative position that the board is opening up that position, and we can't hold that position for Mark Mall. We could just put it out quickly, and anyone who applies can take their shot at the Board of Trustees. So
I just want to circle back to where we're at. So if because your bylaws allow Mark Mall to just stay in the vice chairman position at this point, you don't need to make any motion, Stringfellow, like you were talking about saying Tom, if not Mark. I would just leave that be and just wait and have your election in April.
I like that idea the best.
Yeah.
Billy, I'll get together with Mark, and then in April we'll get it all figured out.
Excellent.
Okay, what's next on the agenda?
I think that's it.
Sorry, can you guys hear me? I would just say, when you talk to Mark, let him know that we have to open that position. So we're just going to post it publicly. So, who's ever interested, he knows it's a 5-year term. So if he's interested in joining us for another 5 years, which I don't know how many years that makes for him, maybe 15. But that it would go before the Board of Trustees to attend that meeting when it gets reviewed. You can ask him any questions and everything. So please let him know that's the process that he'll anticipate.
I will let him know.
And then
we will
we'll be
shoot
in
for the
touch.
first meeting in April.
Well, yeah, we'll be in touch with Mark about posting the position and all those kind of things. We'll open that up and we'll let you guys know that we'll be posting it publicly. Yes.
After I talk to Mark Mall, I will let you know what's going on so we can get a jump on things before the April meeting.
Great. Their
Okay.
business.
You have time for
Sounds-
one more.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, thank you all.
Wait, wait, hold on. Mark, we have one more question. I just heard someone say, do you have time for one more?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I'm just. Oh,
So I was just curious, this kind of ties back into the whole opening up, with the virus and stuff. Karen, can we vote as a team to have our meetings back at the community center? Because there's not many of us, and there's not many people. We're taking up way less than would be allowed in that community.
We have a recovery and resiliency team, and what we ask is that if you have requests like this, that we take it to our team, and that's Miranda Fisher and me and Sergeant Jen Feinlovin and Dawn. We'd have to look at that. Right now the Board of Trustees has approved holding all meetings virtually for now, mainly because there's been concerns amongst other boards and their members who feel like it's just not safe to gather. So I don't know how you all collectively feel about that, if you all want to meet in person, or that's, so maybe, I guess what I would suggest, was that Deborah? Was that Debbie
Yeah.
who asked the question? Yeah, my suggestion is maybe
Yes.
you talk offline to Mark Stringfellow and decide, have a conversation about it, and then bring it back to the full board next time and maybe talk to everybody and see if everybody's wanting that. And then I kind of think this is going to have to go to the Board of Trustees level, because they're the ones who basically are supporting keeping all meetings virtual right now.
Can I get my 2 cents? I think with the mutation in the virus, which is much more contagious, and the fact that we have a nanny whose husband has leukemia, so we're real careful. I would not attend a live meeting yet.
So maybe it's something we can continue to discuss at a future meeting. Maybe by April, the numbers will be better. Maybe the board will be talking about opening up meetings to the public. We've actually been taking our cues from the county, Boulder County and City of Boulder. And right now they're still doing everything virtually. And so we take our direction from Boulder County Public Health. And the recommendations are, to just handle things virtually as much as you can.
Alrighty.
But
Okay, any other questions or comments?
But I appreciate that you miss us, and I miss all of you and your faces too. Thanks, Debbie. It'd be nice. It'll be nice when we can all meet in a room again and look at each other, and when we have super short meetings, and then you guys chat for longer than the meeting. I miss those days.
Oh, I do miss it too. All right. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other business?
I don't think so. Just be looking out for quorum requests. I'll be in touch with you guys if we have variance requests. As you all know, we don't get too many. They come to me first, and I'm answering all property inquiries. And I think I've said this at meetings before. The general thing to everyone is, if you can do this without a variance, that would be my suggestion, because there's time, money, and is put into getting a variance. It's a covenant that runs with your property. It's a big deal, but the thing to understand is there are no guarantees in land use. So you may not get what you want, and you're putting your fate into other people's hands. And I don't know about you, but on my property, I would rather put my fate into my hands and make my decision. So if I have to change a little bit and shorten the deck or what have you, so that I don't have to come to this lovely board and ask permission, then that's what I would do. And I think many people hear that. I will say we are getting influx from the East Coast and from other places. And one of the common questions getting asked is, can I build a garage? These people are not ruins. So how we like to do and welcome people with the wind. So storm isn't over until the wind blows. But I would say that I get a lot of those kind of calls, and there's some difficult properties throughout the town where trying to do garages and other things would really be challenged, and people are pretty headstrong on that in terms of, if I can't do this thing I want, I'm not going to buy the property. But in some cases, I tell them all these things, and then when it comes to, okay, they bought the property, it's just crickets, and I'm not hearing anything back from them if they're going to come back for a variance request. But just in general, that's sort of my, fast and furious. Like, you can do it without having to do that. That's the easier way to go. And many people, I think, agree. And then you guys don't see too many variance requests. So I don't want to steal your lovely work from you, but I think it kind of works out that most people understand, looking at the specific criteria and just kind of weighing in and saying, I think this is a really good case for a variance here because of these conditions. You're the one who's going to case, not me. But I can see what you're saying here or whatever. Or I don't think this is a good case, but I am not the decider of your fate. It is the board who will decide your fate. And, you know, if you decide that you don't care what I say, then you can go forward and get your variance request and take your shot at the board, and I can, you know, guide you in that process. But as you see, you don't have many coming before you. So
Well, Cynthia, keep up the good work.
thanks. Thanks. I try.
April docket clear.
Are we seeking a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Awesome.
Second. Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Good job, guys. Thank you very much.
Good night,
Anybody else?
everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Good
Yeah.
night.
Good night.
Thanks, bye.
Meeting is adjourned at 8:19 p.m.
What is that?
Yeah.